Okay, so welcome ever so much, everybody, to the second in a series of 3 webinars around remote teaching for ISMLA. I'm absolutely delighted to be here, and I'm sure you're going to find a lot of information here that you're going to find useful. What I've tried to do is answer any questions that I couldn't answer there and then in the chat last week to answer them this week. And I've also got lots of new ideas which I'm going to be sharing with you around interactive activities that can either be done asynchronously or synchronously. So let's go on to the second slide, should I say? And there we are. So you probably all have my contact details already, but that's my Twitter handle and that's my email underneath. As you can see, we're going to be looking at Flipgrid and Padlet, but we're going to be looking at some other things as well. So let's just crack on, and it's an absolute pleasure to be here. I hope you've all had a good week. Okay, so this is what we're going to try and cover in the next hour. As you can see, we're going to be looking at Padlet, Flipgrid. We're also going to be looking at Jamboard. I'm going to be doing some brainstorming with you on Jamboard. If you haven't seen Jamboard before, it's a Google tool which allows you to create an online collaborative whiteboard that works on all devices, as all Google tools do. And we're going to be doing some brainstorming with that later. We're going to be looking at Flipgrid and looking at things such as being able to record video, upload it onto a grid, being able to moderate the content. We're then going to look at the screen recording option, which is quite new in Flipgrid, and I'm hopefully going to take you on a lovely tour around the world. We'll see how we get on with that. And then if there's time, we'll look at Google Forms as well to make self-marking quizzes. But there is a lot to do, and I want to have some Q&A at the end as well. Okay. Right, so you'll be seeing in the next few slides that I've been using Bitmojis a lot in this presentation. So I was very, very excited to see yesterday that finally it's possible now with Bitmoji in the Chrome extension to write in any text as long as it's a short phrase, and it will then generate a random Bitmoji that goes with your text. So it means that it just creates many, many more possibilities of how you can use Bitmoji. So the first question that I didn't answer last week is, as you can see, can you pre-prepare the groups for breakout rooms in advance? So I checked this, and yes, you can pre-assign users, but the issue around that is you need the email addresses of the people you would pre-assign, which obviously in this case would be students, and that email address would have to be associated with a Zoom account. So I appreciate that it would be easier to pre-assign users, but I'm not recommending in any way, shape or form that you go down the route of getting all the children to create Zoom accounts. And in fact, you have to be 16 and over to do that anyway. So unfortunately, that's not something I would advise. What I would suggest is that you go for the automatic option when creating breakout rooms, and then it will magically sort everyone into a separate room. But if you want to pre-assign people, I don't think that's possible. And the other option is to manually do it, which I appreciate takes a little bit more time, but that's to keep everyone as safe as possible. Okay, so that's the answer to that question. You'll see as well that underneath I've put links to the official guidance from Zoom, and then underneath that is one from a university talking about pre-assigning participants to Zoom, but that's for young people older than 16, and there's a YouTube clip as well going through the same issue. Okay, so that's the first question answered, I think. The second question, can you keep sharing your screen in breakout rooms? So yes, in breakout rooms, you still get all the functionality as long as the host has enabled those things. And so that's all good. So it means that if you set people into a breakout room, they can share their screen, they can talk to each other, they can work on a whiteboard, yeah, or you could just have it so they were just talking to each other via video. And then obviously as the teacher, you can then hop in and hop out whenever you want to. And you can also drag and drop anybody who's in a breakout room into another breakout room, which I mentioned last week. Okay, that's that question. Next question. Okay, can you share the whiteboard in the breakout room and bring it back into the main room? So the honest answer is no, you can't. But what you can do is you can save the whiteboard that you're working on in the breakout room that you're in, save it as a JPEG, and then when you go back to the main session, you can then show the image via the screen share. Okay, and there's even a little YouTube clip there from a university in New Zealand, I think, if I remember correctly, which, yeah, it is New Zealand, in fact. And if you click on the link underneath bottom left there, you'll be able to watch the video back, and it explains exactly how to do that, literally going through step by step on how to take a screenshot of your screen, how to then share it via Zoom in the main session. Okay. Right, this is one of the big questions that came up. Can you do breakout rooms in Google Meet and Microsoft Teams? Okay, so on this slide, I'm focusing on Google Meet, and there's a couple of articles which have been written here by people interested in Google content. And essentially you can create a number of different Google Meets running at the same time. So you, in the different links there, it's all explained. If I just click on this one, this is probably my favorite one, which is from a guy called Greg Kulowick from the States. So I've actually met face-to-face in Boston in 2013, and he's the gentleman who invented the term app smashing. And as you can see, what he's done here, he's done a little video clip, and he goes through step by step on how to do breakout rooms. Essentially what he's doing is he's creating a new room for, say, 4 or 5 students. He's then putting them into a Google Slides presentation as the link. He's then assigning the different students via the chat, and then they're clicking on the right link, and then he can then hop between the different ones, making sure that he's got the audio muted apart from the one that he's going to be going into. Otherwise you'd have a cacophony of noise. So it is possible to do it. It's just not as straightforward compared to in Zoom. Okay, let's go back to my presentation. And that's a lovely graphic there as well, which was Clay Codes, this website here. He's the person that came up with this graphic, which I think is lovely. Right, so the next slide is, oh, before I do that as well, this is, as you can see, I've been playing a lot with Bitmojis. I made this animated GIF just by using 2 Bitmojis, and I removed the background as well. I used, well, I did it twice actually. I used an app called Image Play, which is IMG PLAY, and then the other one, that's an iOS and Android app. And I also used gifmaker.me, I think it is, gifmaker.me, I think that's right. And that allows you to do the same thing, but in the browser. With the browser version, it didn't remove the background, but there's a website called remove.bg, which allows you to remove the background of any image, including a human being or a pet or what have you. And so you can use that really nicely in a tool like Book Creator, add speech bubbles, and then record your voice and make that invisible. But I can do that. I may touch upon that in the 3rd session. But remove.bg is amazing for removing the background. So as you can see, it's literally just 2 images, and then I've turned it into a GIF. And you can put GIFs into Google Slides or Keynote or PowerPoint, and then it just animates. So the reason I'm so excited by the Bitmoji is the fact that I think yesterday or the day before, Google have announced that as of this month, they're going to roll out Google Meet for free for everybody, whereas before it was only available if you had a G Suite account or a G Suite, you were a G Suite school. So that's very exciting for everybody, I think. So as opposed to just mainly using Zoom, if you were, sort of bring your own device context, you could now use Google Meet as well. Okay. Right, so next question. Can you have breakout rooms in Microsoft Teams? So again, I found a couple of links there, one by Sam McNeil and the other one by PE Tutor. And essentially what they're doing is they're recommending that you have private channels for as breakout rooms, and then you then can hop between the different private channels. So in the private channel, they can have the Meet Now video conferencing, they can chat with each other. I worked out, or I heard earlier this week, that if you have the iOS app for Teams, there's a microphone button that appears on the right-hand side in the channel, and you can tap on that and you can record audio. And Catherine Bellers, who works at Ballard School, who's going to appear later on in my presentation, she was saying on Twitter that she was using it for speaking practice. So she was recording some audio, her students were recording audio, and they were having like a back and forth dialogue, which I thought was a really cool idea. But I'm not sure if that works in the Android app for Teams, but it certainly works in the iOS app, and I've enabled it on mine, which is very exciting. I get very excited about these things. So that's Teams. So hopefully that's answered the question about can you do breakout rooms in Teams and in Google Meet. Okay, right. I'm going to spend a little bit longer on this one because this is the big question I had this week. And as you can see, I was very honest when I tweeted on April the 25th. Has anyone got any bright ideas on how to do summative assessment writing task in a remote teaching context and ensure that students do not use Google Translate to complete it? I'm stumped, which is completely true. I think I mentioned last time that my friend Francois Stolder, who's on the right-hand side there, who I met back in 2013, I think it was, when I did a course in Bangkok. And he, at the time, was the head of languages at Tower International School in Bangkok. Since then, well, anyway, now he's working in Budapest at an American school. And we've sort of kept in contact ever since. And we had, well, he runs these sort of Zoom webinars for international school teachers, and he invited me to come along, which was great. And we had like a one-to-one chat about this very issue, about how do you have summative assessment. And I recommended Socrative, which allows you to make pre-made quizzes, which are teacher-paced. So you could, for example, take a photograph of some text and have that in the image for each question. So you can do this all beforehand. And then when you run the assessment, you then get to choose when you move on to the next question. So in other words, the idea is that the children don't have enough time to just take that text because it's an image and put it to Google Translate. So again, Francois was a star this week, posting a screenshot of how he administered the test that he did a couple of days ago. And as you can see, what he's doing is he's getting his students to point their cameras at their hands. So they're writing on a piece of paper with their pen. So you can see very clearly they're not using a mobile device. Admittedly, they might have two screens, I suppose, if they really wanted to. But anyway, he then gets them to use an app which allows them to turn what they've done into a PDF. I would recommend Office Lens for doing that, which is a really nice app in general if you're going to convert any sort of handwritten text into a PDF, and then they can then submit that via Teams or via Classroom. And that works on all devices, I believe. It certainly works on iOS, Microsoft, and Android, I believe. So that's one way of getting around the issue. And then at our Tilt Show and Tell on Saturday, Paul Evans presented about a tool called exam.net earlier on that week. In fact, I think it was the same day, if I remember correctly. He suggested exam.net. And that's a Swedish company that have created this. And essentially the idea is that you, as a teacher, you take the exams as a PDF, you upload the PDF onto exam.net. You can also upload audio files as well. And then you give the students a code. They then join the session at an allotted time. So let's say they have an hour. In that time, the software is monitoring their keyboard and monitoring their screen. So they can then see whether they've taken their hands off the keyboard and all this sort of thing. So they can, if they've been away from the keyboard for a set amount of time, they can be locked out of the session. And the teacher can sort of force them to hand in the work i.e. finish the exam at any moment. So it could be, say, an hour long or what have you. And that seemed to be, another solution. I'm not saying, I've sort of come to the conclusion, if the children really, really want to cheat and want to use Google Translate, there's not a lot you can do about that. But I think that these sorts of ideas, as well as having a parent sitting next to them the whole time that they're doing it as well, is an option. Another option is Screencastify, which I mentioned last time. You could ask the students to record themselves while they're taking the exam, and therefore you would be able to watch with their webcam on, you will be able to watch their face, seeing that they weren't looking at two screens or looking at their device. And you'd only have to watch them probably for a few minutes to pick up if they were cheating or not. And then the final suggestion are a couple of Chrome extensions. One's called Draftback and one's called DocuViz. And what they do is they look at the history of a document, and so and visually, so you can basically go through and see exactly what changes have been made and how things have been edited. So if someone has copied and pasted a big chunk of text into a Google Doc, you will be able to see immediately that they've done that, because it will be very, very obvious. So I don't think any of these solutions are perfect, but I've tried really hard this week to try and find the best solution out there. And I think that what I've just mentioned is probably the best that you could do. But unless you have a parent sitting next to them the whole time, I don't really see how you can guarantee that they're not going to be using Google Translate. So there we are. Let's move on to the next idea. Feel free to ask me any questions in the chat as well. Okay, so what I thought I would do, again, another Bitmoji, is we could have a bit of fun with Google Jamboard. So as you can see, the question here is, how do you feel about remote teaching? I'm going to be asking you this every week from now on. I'm going to click on the link here, and that should now take me to Jamboard. And there we are. And I'm going to, top right of the screen, I'm going to click share. And by default, it won't say anyone who has this link can edit. So if I just click on here, just like with any sort of Google tool, it will normally say that it's private. But if I want to share it, I simply select anyone with a link. I click, I make sure as well I put can edit, and I click save. I then copy the link, and I go to the chat, which is here already. I don't have to do that. It's here already. And then I just paste it in. So making sure I put it onto here, right? I paste it in. And what I would like you to do, please, I'd like you to join the session. I'm now going to show you how it works. And then I'm then going to show you some other features that you get in the app version as opposed to the desktop version. So as you can see here, I've asked the question using one of their sticky notes. How do you feel about remote teaching? Now, you could draw on the screen if you want to. So you can use the pen tool and draw on the screen. There's quite a few people in the room, so don't do a massive drawing. You could click on the image option, add image, and you could do Google image search if you wanted to, and just write in something there. So if you were feeling happy, for example, you could do that and do a search, and then there we are. I could then click on this gentleman here and click select. Like that. Is that going to work? Oh, what's my mouse doing? Right, there we are. There we are. And then it will then appear like that. So if you do have images, don't try and make them too big, otherwise it'll go a bit crazy. But I just want you to add some text, add an image, add a drawing, just so I can get a feel for how you're feeling this week about remote teaching. And then we'll move on to the next slide in the Jamboard. So as you can see, I've got 5 slides for you. So we should be fine. And feel free to download the app as well, if you'd like to. It's all very positive. That's great. Excellent. Now, in a real situation, I wouldn't have 30 people or however, 36 people all collaborating on the same document. I would assign different people to different smaller rooms, for example, or smaller frames, i.e. We could have, say, 4 or 5 people in this frame. The next frame could be another 4 or 5 people, etc., etc. So, so there we are. That's how that would work. But I can see you having lots of fun. It's a very, very intuitive tool, Jamboard is. It's wonderful. So I think we'll move on. I think people have got a good feel for how that works. So to go on to the next frame, you can see at the top of the screen there, where it's got 1 of 5, I click on next frame. So thank you ever so much. So that's the first question. I can see that pretty much everyone's still positive, apart from the broken glass, but never mind. Right, next question. What can you remember from the last webinar? Now, this is not really, well, it is sort of a serious question, but I'd love you to just write down something that maybe really jumped at you, maybe that you've tried out this week. It would be just lovely to get a bit of feedback on this. And this could be any sort of, you could use this sort of the sticky note for any sort of question or feedback or what have you, but it's just quite fun. People are less confident now to do this, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'll put you on the spot. Mentimeter was amazing. Okay, that's good. That's lovely. It might, yeah, for this one, it might be easier to use the sticky notes, but feel free if you'd like to draw. I can see Elizabeth asked the question, how do you get the app emojis into the Chrome extension? Oh, okay. So what you do, Elizabeth, is you need to install the Chrome extension. What I've been doing for the last couple of days is I install the Chrome extension, I write some text in the search box, images will then come up, and then I literally drag and drop the image into Google Slides. And then you could use the snipping tool on Windows to take a screenshot of it, as it were. Or if you want to have it so it doesn't have a background, what I do is I open up Google Slides on my iPad, go into split view. So I've got the Google Slides on one side and the Photos app on the other side, and I literally drag and drop the image from Google Slides into the Photos, and by doing that, it removes the background automatically. You could put the image into Keynote and use what's called Instant Alpha, which also removes the background, or the website I mentioned earlier, remove.bg, also removes the background as well, which is great. So some of you weren't there, fair enough. Screencastify, you liking Screencastify? Yeah, excellent. Breakout rooms, that's lovely. Absolutely lovely. Okay, I'll just give you another minute or so to write something. I can see that mini whiteboards, yeah. Oh yeah, that was a lot of fun, wasn't it? Using whiteboard.fi. You're absolutely welcome, Elizabeth. And don't forget, this is being recorded, so you can always watch back. And if you're stuck with anything, just send me a message on Twitter or what have you. I'm more than happy to go through it again. It's not a problem. In fact, I'm planning on doing a guide about how to do this using Bitmojis, but I'm a little bit busy at the moment, so it won't be straight away. Awesome. Okay, so just to be very clear, if you want to write on the screen, you just click on the sticky notes option, and that then allows you to write. There's not like a text box which appears apart from the sticky notes. So if you want to write something, that's what you do. That's lovely. Okay, can we move on to the next frame, if that's okay? So to do that, I just click up here. Thank you for all your answers. Have you tried any of the ideas from the last webinar? We've sort of done that already, actually. So I think we can move on. But you get the idea. I've put in the satirical little image there. Hopefully nobody has been crying this week. But yeah, we'll just move on to the next one because there's lots of things to cover. Right, this is quite fun. This was, I mentioned the Francois Stoll, the international group of language teachers that meet up a couple of times a week. So today, a gentleman from Germany, who's an Apple Distinguished Educator, showed us this tool called XWords, available at xwords-generator.de / and normally it's /DE, so that means you get the German version. But if you just remove the DE on the end and put EN instead, then you'll see what happens is you actually get the English version. Now, when I was doing this earlier, just having a play around with this, and I was trying to put the sticky notes over the top of each letter, but actually that was a nightmare because each time I did that, I was accidentally moving the background image, and you can't unfortunately lock the background image to the frame. So I think apart from the fact I can see that a couple of you have moved the picture, but basically it's not going to move the crossword too much if you're just drawing over the top. So I thought that might be quite fun. I know this is a very simple example, but you could make it a lot harder if you wanted to. And you don't need to have an account to use XWords, and the students don't need to have an account to access it. You literally just create the activity. You can download the crossword as an image, or you can use the snipping tool and then put it straight into Jamboard and get them to do an interactive starter activity. That's the idea. Okay, I'll just give you another moment or two just to finish it off. Let's see if everyone's got it correct. I think that's all looking good, more or less. Okay, I think we'll. That's right. You can use if there are mistakes, you can use the eraser tool as well. Okay, I think we're going to move on, but hopefully everyone's understood how that works. So it's XWords is the free website from Germany, but you can get it in English just by changing the DE on the end of the link to EN, and then you get the English version. So it's quite a fun way of using this in Jamboard. Right, so we'll just go on to the last frame of that scale. I appreciate we haven't finished it, but time is of an essence, and I presume you all know your French animals. So let's carry on. Right, now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how the app version is different from the website version. And to do that, I'm going to click Stop Share, and I'm going to click Share Screen. I probably could have done New Share, but it's all good. I'm going to click Share Screen, and I'm going to select the iPhone iPad option, and then I'm going to click share. Now, by doing that, I then launch screen mirroring on my iPad, and I choose, it says Zoom-Joe, and you should now be able to see my iPad screen. Can you just let me know that you can see that? You should be able to see just my iPad screen, hopefully. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, right. So now I then tap on Jamboard, and I'm in the same Jamboard that you've just been in. I can, for example, go onto the previous page to show your lovely crossword. And I just wanted to point out a couple of things. There's two main differences between the app and the web browser version. If, for example, at the top there, you can see that sort of blue circle where the shapes are. If I tap on that, you can see that one of the options is assistive drawing tools. So, for example, if I tap on the A icon there and I just write my name like this, as if by magic, it will turn it into text. Now, before you get too excited, I've tried this in a different language and it doesn't work, which it must be able to work in a different language for obvious reasons. But when I've tried it today, I've not been able to get it to work, which has been very annoying. So, but never mind. If I now tap delete and I tap on this again, if I tap on the middle option, which is the shapes one, and I just draw, for example, a triangle like this, it suddenly turns into an actual triangle. So the idea, again, is if you find drawing things like this difficult, or you just want something that looks really nice, then you can do that. Let's do a circle. And as if by magic, it turns into a circle. And you can change the color by tapping here and choosing, say, red. And then choosing, say, exactly. Okay. So you could then use that as a way of building up your Jamboard, maybe building up a picture with different shapes or whatever, however you want to use it. If I now tap on this again, and this time I tap on the pen tool, this is what's called Auto Draw, which is a Google tool using artificial intelligence. And if I, for example, draw something here, let's see, right, so I'm drawing something like that. And clearly that's supposed to be a light bulb, but at the bottom of the screen, using artificial intelligence, it's working out what that picture is. And as you can see, the light bulb has come up. So I tap on that and suddenly, as if by magic, my picture has been turned into a professional looking piece of clip art. So that's the assistive drawing tools. And then at the bottom of the screen, you've got the bottom of that floating toolbar on the left-hand side, you've got the plus icon. And if you tap on that, you've got, for example, stickers. So you can tap on the stickers option. Then these all come up, which could be useful. You could, for example, if you wanted to have a tick on the screen, you could do that. If we tap here again, if you tap on the image library and tap OK. Oh, that's just accessing my camera roll. Hang on, there's another. If I tap on images, that's it, right. If I tap on images, I can do a Google image search within Jamboard on the app. So if I, for example, put in the Isle of Wight, there we are. Beautiful. So we tap on that and there it is in my Jamboard, making sure I just do undo, which is there. Tap on the select tool. I can now move the picture around. I can make it bigger, smaller, and what have you. So there we are. And then if we, on your screen, if you're looking Jamboard on your screen, as opposed to on the iPad version I'm demonstrating right now, then you'll have seen all these changes that I've just made. So in other words, if the students have a mobile device or they're using the desktop, they can all take part in the Jamboard. It just so happens that iOS users, I've not checked this with if it works on Android in the same way, but iOS users have a few more features and functionality compared to on the desktop. But I think that in general, Jamboard is really nice for brainstorming collaboration, as you've just shown. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, or new share. I should go on new share, shouldn't I? And I should click back on here and click share. And now we're back in this session here. That's it. Right. So now we're seeing the desktop version. Phew, it worked. Right. Okay. Right. Let's go to the presentation. So I now know how you're feeling, which is great, about remote teaching, which is lovely. And this is just the what I was showing you earlier, or a moment ago. And right, Flipgrid. Right. So we're now going to have a look at Flipgrid. So if you've not seen Flipgrid before, the idea is that you create a grid. You can make as many grids as you want to. Within each grid, you have different topics. Again, you can have as many topics as you want to. And around the world, language teachers have found it very useful for speaking practice. So I'm just going to come out of my presentation and show you this live. So if I go to, sorry, I didn't want to do that, didn't I? I would just want to come out of my slideshow. So if I click exit, and then I go to a new tab, and I know I've got a few tabs open, but I've got 16 gigs of RAM, so it's all good. Right, so if I go here and I go to Flipgrid, like that, okay, and I click on Educator Login, and I log in with my email address. There we are. It's got that already. So I'm going to log in. There we are. Right. Okay. So we're going to start from scratch. I'm going to create a new grid. So if I click Add New Grid, and this is incredibly important, this bit. So I'm going to just put in the title as ISMLA. Okay. But underneath it says the type of account you want to create or how you want to use Flipgrid. I would recommend, for obvious reasons, that you set this up using your Microsoft or Google school email address. So it means that the only people that can have access to the Flipgrid are people who are using the email from your domain. I would not recommend the other options. That's what I would recommend. But for today's session, because of the fact that we're not all part of the same community, I'm going to choose the public and PLCs to demonstrate how this works. Okay. Right, I then can make up a name like this. So I'm going to put in ISMLA, which is available. That's good to see. And then I click next. Okay, I could give a password, but because for this demo reason, demo situation, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to click next. Okay, so we've got our grid. It's good to go. You can see here that you can share your grid automatically to Teams or to Google Classroom, which is always nice to see. Okay. So we've done that, and you can see that that a topic has already been added by default, which is called Say Hello on Flipgrid, which is lovely. And if I go to the right-hand side, you can see it says Actions. If I click on Actions and I click on Edit Topic, you can see that's the title there. I can change that at any moment if I want to. If I scroll down a little bit, can you see it says Video Moderation? This is always a big thing that people ask me about Flipgrid, about can you moderate the videos, and the answer is yes, you can. What you do is you tick on the slider there. That means that any video which is published onto the grid, you get to see it before it goes live, and you can choose whether you make it active or hidden. The other thing I want to point out is here, recording time 1.5 minutes. You can change that. If you click on here, you can have it to up to 10 minutes. I'm going to select 10 minutes now. I'm not going to be recording for 10 minutes, but just to show you how it works. Right, so that's all good. There's another thing I wanted to show you, which is towards the top. No, it's not. I must be thinking of something else. There's a student-to-student. Yeah, here we are. Can you see it says student-to-student replies? If you don't want to have that, in other words, the only people that can give feedback, which is possible in Flipgrid, is the teacher. So if you want to disable that, you simply untick it. I'm going to leave it on for now, but you can disable that if you don't want that to happen. So that's all good. We then click Update Topic. Okay. And then we then click on the flip code here, and we're going to get the student view. Okay. Having done that, there we are. There it is. Okay. And you've got this big green button, and you can see underneath it says moderated. So if I got to the top there and I click here, it goes nice and big. Now, if you've got the Flipgrid app or you want to have a go at this, there's actually a Flipgrid Chrome extension as well. I'm going to, on my iPad, I'm going to launch the Flipgrid app, and I'm going to be talking you through what I'm seeing. I'm not going to be showing you the screen as well, because I don't want to, I can't show both at the same time. So it says scan Flipgrid QR in the app. Now it's open, or enter Flip code. So I'm going to put in the code, and I can see that that is 92E2E175. Okay, there we are. So as a result of that, I then tap on the arrow, and now I'm into the student view of the grid. Okay, I can now see the green button. I'll just show you this here. So I'm seeing the green button on my device. So I tap on that. I need to log in as a student. So the students need to log in order to use Flipgrid. I've tapped on login with Google because it needs to be a separate account. And there we are. Now I can now see myself in Flipgrid, and I'm going to show you this live in a moment with something else. But I can tap on the emojis icon like this, and that will then generate lots of emojis, and I can choose one of them, and that will allow me to basically hide my face. They don't seem to be loading right now. I'm not sure what that is. Okay, you have to just believe me. I'll show you that later. I'm just going to record myself speaking. Here we go. Okay, so this is an example of a Flipgrid contribution, which will be the first video that appears in the grid. So the idea is the teacher would use this opportunity to ask a question of the students, and then all the students would then reply to that question in the target language. Okay, so I've just done that. I then press the play button to review it. That's all good. I then press the green button again. I take a selfie, which will be the thumbnail that appears. I tap the green button again, and I tap submit video. And that's it. So that's now uploading onto the Flipgrid. And if I now refresh the page, you can see that you can't see it. And the reason you can't see it is because it's moderated. So to show what that looks like is we click on the ellipsis, the 3 dots top right, and go to educator login like this. Okay, we then click on the little thumbnail here, the little image, and we click here where the icon is here. Okay, and you can see that there's my video, and you can see that it's hidden. So if I click on this and I go to active, and then I then save what I've just done, or is it done it automatically? I can't see. I think that's done it automatically, right? So I go back to the grid. So I go to, yeah, here. If I click here, view a student, and I scroll down, and there it is, yeah? So that's how it works. If I now click on the video, you can see. Okay, so this is an example of a Flipgrid contribution, which will be the first video that appears in the grid. So the idea is the teacher would use this opportunity to... Okay, and you can see that underneath there are 2 speech bubbles. So if I click on that, and again, I log in with Google. Okay, I log in, I can now, now the reason this has happened is because I'm using my camera in Zoom, and that's why this message has appeared. So I need to stop my video in Zoom, and then I need to click retry camera. And now you can see what I was seeing on my iPad a moment ago. So just to be very clear how this works, if I click on the stickers option now that you can see it, these will now all come up. So I could click here, for example, and suddenly I've got this lovely emoji over my face. So if I now make that nice and big like that to hide myself, and I can now record my feedback like this. Okay, so this is some example feedback about your video, Joe. Well done, very good, but keep up the good work. Okay, then I click next. Okay, so this is some example feedback about your video, Joe. Okay, I can now trim this if I want to. If I click on, okay, I can trim this. I don't actually need to trim it, but I could if I wanted to. Okay, so this is some example feedback about your video, Joe. Well done. Click confirm. Oh, before I do that as well, can you see you've got a little sticky note here? You can have that on the screen, and you can write in some text. So that could be something that you use for prompts. So you could use that for GCSE, for example. You could then remind yourself of what you want to say, and that will not appear in the final video, which is always nice. So you then click confirm. Okay, so this is some example feedback about your video, Joe. Well done. Okay, and then take a selfie like that. I could have put something over my face again, but I didn't bother. Click next, it's going to upload, and then my feedback will then be there. I click submit video. I can change my name if I don't want to have my first name and surname, initial, and there it is, and there's my video. Okay, so this is an example of a Flipgrid contribution, which will be the first. So that's the first one. If I click here, the idea is that... Oh, that's just recording it. Sorry, if I go back to here. Okay, so there we are. There's my video. If I now click on here. Okay, so this is an example of a Flipgrid contribution. Okay, I'm not sure what I've done there, but anyway, that's where you'll be able to see the replies. So
Okay,
all
so
the
this
replies will appear there, and you'll be able to see them very, very clearly. So that's the basics of how this works. But I'm just going to turn off moderation because I want to show you something which I think you'll like. So if I click on here and click here, and then make that, well done, Andy. So make that active, and that's all good. And then if I go to here, my grids, and I go to here and edit grid, oh, sorry, topic, that should be topic, go here, edit topic, and I'm going to turn off moderation. Okay, and update topic. Right, so now if I go here back to the Flipgrid, so this again the student view, and I'm going to click here. All right, and this, okay, I need to then log into Google again, like that. Okay, and right, so now I want to show you the whiteboard option, which is here. If I click on the whiteboard, I can choose the white or blackboard. I'm going to go for whiteboard, and I can choose the color. So if I want to stick with black, I can now click record, and I can draw on the screen. Okay, so it's obviously not the easiest thing to record with a mouse, but you get the idea. I can move the color now to say something else like that and have a little squiggle. I've now deliberately pressed pause. I'm going to click clear, but it still has recorded what I've done so far. I can now press record again, and I can now write another word like goodbye, but I could be explaining how to form the perfect tense in French, couldn't I? And I could be taking my time, or clearly the students could be doing that as well, explaining to each other about a grammar concept. Okay, I've done that. I click next, just as before. Okay, so it's obviously not the easiest thing to record with next. Take a selfie, click next, upload, and you get the idea. So once you've established the routine, the students will be good to go, and that will now, that should have appeared. Why hasn't that appeared? I've turned off moderation. There it is. There's my video. And there's the whiteboard. Okay, so it's obviously not the easiest thing to... Okay, now the next thing I want to show you is screen recording, which is a new thing. Don't know why it keeps asking me to log in, but never mind. If I now click on the ellipsis to the left of the record button, yeah, Flipgrid is completely free. It used to be, you had to pay for some features, but Microsoft bought it a couple of years ago, and it's now completely free. Right, this is the bit when I have to make sure I can see everything on my screen. Right, okay, so can you see it says screen recording? So I'm going to now have lots of fun with you doing the following. Right, I'm going to click capture screen, start screen recording, choose my desktop, click share, and now I'm going to go to Google Earth, which is here, and I think this should be recording right now. So in Google Earth, I'm going to be going somewhere. I can go anywhere in the world. So I'm going to click search, and I'm going to go to Buckingham Palace. Okay, like that. I click there, it comes up, and I click here, and away we go. Oh, do that again. Sorry, there we are. I shouldn't have clicked on that. Never mind. Right, so as you can see, there it is, Buckingham Palace. And then what I can do is I can take the little man and I can drop him here. And as if by magic, we're going in on Street View and we're going to see just outside Buckingham Palace. And there we are. So in other words, I could now be recording my voice, which I'm right now, and I could be going anywhere in the world, describing what I can see, doing a sort of like a web tour, and everything is being recorded within Flipgrid. So to stop sharing my screen now, I click stop sharing, which is here, and I think this should be recording right now. So in Google Earth, this is what I've done. I'm going to be going somewhere. I can go anywhere in the world. So I'm going to click search, and I'm going to go to, obviously you wouldn't have the chat on the screen, but you get the idea. Buckingham Palace. What I've tried to do here. Okay, like that. I click there, it comes up, and I click here, and away we go. Oh, do that again. Sorry, there we are. I shouldn't have clicked on that. Never mind. Right, so as you can see, there it is, Buckingham Palace. And then what I can do is I can take the little man and I can drop him here. And as if by magic, we're going in on Street View and we're going to see just outside Buckingham Palace, and there we are. So in other words, I could now be recording my voice, which I'm right now, and I could be going anywhere in the world, describing what I can see, doing a sort of like a web tour, and everything is being recorded within Flipgrid. So to stop sharing my screen now, and there we are, which is here. And I think again, I could be trimming this, which is here. So I could start sort of this sort of. There we are. Click up, and I click here, like and away we go. Then sort of here. But you get the idea. Okay. Sharing my screen now, up, and I click here. Right. So so you get the idea. I can top and tail the recording. I then click confirm, up, and I click here, and next, and away we go. Take a selfie. Next. Uploads. So the students could be doing this. Yeah. So you could show them how to do it. They could then all be going into Google Earth, doing a tour, and recording in the target language, describing what's around them. And I think they would absolutely love that. You do have to have quite a quick computer for this to work, but we've done it. So that's Flipgrid, and that's what I wanted to show you. And we now need to go back to my presentation. There's all the links here on that you can check out as well, which are sort of tweets and what have you, describing what I've just shown you. Okay, right. Padlet. Let's have a look at Padlet. So Padlet is wonderful. It allows you to record audio, which is just amazing. And it's essentially like an online notice board. So you can publish multimedia onto it. But I think for languages, what I particularly like is the voice option. So I'm going to go on to the next slide. I've made a little guide actually, which I'll put in the chat for you. It's is.gd/audio Padlet. And that's I think a 9-page or something PDF, which goes through what I'm going to be showing you right now. But if we go here, the MFL Twitterati podcast, episode 4, Catherine Bellers, who I mentioned earlier, at 26 minutes 20, she talks about how she uses Padlet or used Padlet in order to help her students revise for their GCSE. And what I'm going to do now, I'm not going to play that audio, I'm going to show you this live by going to the next page, which is this demo one. If you want to scan that QR code or go to the link, which is at the bottom there, padlet.com/jodel/ISMLA2, I'll give you literally 30 seconds or so to do that. And then while you're doing that, I will then, or once you've done that, I mean, I will then show you how to do this live. But while you're doing that, I'll explain what I'm going to be showing you, so there's not dead space. In Padlet, you've got a number of different formats you can choose. The one I would recommend for this is what's called the shelf format, SHELF. That allows you to have different columns in Padlet. So essentially, because Catherine and Alex Bellers are friends of mine, so I stayed over them for a couple of nights, and I showed both of them how you can use this for in Padlet for speaking practice. And then Catherine straight away tried it out with her students and found it to be very successful. So hopefully everyone's got that link, or some of you have. If I just come out of my presentation and I go live to Padlet, which is here, just move the chat out of the way. If I go to the 3 dots here, the ellipsis, and I go to where it says change format, and I choose the shelf format, that's what I want to have. Right, so again, Elizabeth has asked about Padlet, is it free or not? So Padlet, you can have, for a free account, you can have 3 Padlets for free. If you had existing Padlets, if you'd already had an account, then you can just keep using those. But for free, you only get 3 Padlets. But in the way I'm going to show you now, I think it's worth going for the, whatever it is, £8 a month, I think, to have unlimited Padlets. I think I'm right in saying that. Check out the pricing on the website. Right. So as you can see, it says column 1. You then click on rename column and you say your name as the teacher. You click save. You then, for all the other columns, you create columns 1 per student. Okay, and you can have as many columns as you want. If you click on the plus icon here, you give a title. So for this example, I'm going to put Q1, i.e. question 1. Then you click on the ellipsis here, and then you can see you've got all these options, but the one I'm going to focus on is the voice option. So I click on voice, and then I allow my microphone in Chrome. This then comes up, and it's using my nice USB microphone. So I'm going to click on this now and record my voice like this. Okay, so I'm recording my voice right now. You should be hearing my beautiful tones into my microphone. I can record up to 15 minutes per audio example, so plenty for the students to get their teeth into. And I'm going to stop recording now by pressing the pause button. Okay, I could click discard and restart, but if I'm happy with that, I can click playback and save. I then give it a title, so I'll put Q1, and then I click save. Okay, and what will now happen is that audio will upload onto Padlet and should appear as a player, an audio player like that. Yeah, can you all see? So I now press play. Okay, so I'm recording my voice right now. You should be hearing my beautiful tones into my microphone. I can record up to 50. So there we are. So the idea is that you would then repeat that process. You'd record, say, 10 questions at GCSE level. If you want to have a go at recording as well, that person that just put Q2, feel free to do so. Then in add column, I think I'm right in saying only I as the host can add new columns. But once you've added the columns, you will put the students' names there, or a nickname if you didn't want to put their actual name. And that means that they can listen to each other's audio. And if you've enabled commenting, which you do here, you click on the cog here and you rename the Padlet, what have you, and you go down to where it says comments and you enable commenting. And that gives the commenting option underneath. Oh, you can create another column, fair enough. So you could create your own column, but obviously the children will be well behaved, I'm sure. And you can also moderate each post if you want to. You see underneath it says require approval, require a moderator to approve. So if you turn that on, nobody can post anything unless the teacher approves it. And there's a profanity filter as well. So I suggested this to Catherine, and she has been using it. And in the podcast audio, you can hear her saying how she feels that it's given a lot of confidence to her students. It's been really helpful. She's now actually using OneNote to do the same sort of thing, but I think Padlet works really, really nicely for that. So hopefully that's give you an idea on how you can use Padlet in this way, particularly in languages. Okay, let's go back to presenting, and we'll just finish up. Right, so Google Forms again, and I have got enough time because we started a bit late. I can show you how to make a Google form, and let's just go on to the next. So would it be helpful to leave a class list up so students know where to upload each file? Yes, you could do. I mean, Padlet works on all devices, so they just need to, yeah, you could do. You could have, you could upload an Excel spreadsheet, but you could just have an image of all the class list on the Padlet, or you can add a background image in Padlet, so that could actually be the class list. So if you wanted to do that, that would be fine as well. They do not leave their name, so yeah, good. Yeah, it's really important that they do leave their name. What you could do is you could insist that they all log in with an email account. They don't have to do that. As you saw, I wasn't asking you to log in, so they could do that. But if they log in, then their name will appear as their name based on the name that they use for their email. But what I would suggest is just make it very clear that you expect them to write their name for obvious reasons. Okay, so you can identify who is who. Right, so let's come out of here and I'll show you, let me just see what else I'm covering. Oh yeah, that's fine, right. So let's have a look at Google Forms. So, and I appreciate that if you're in an Office 365 environment, you've got Microsoft Forms, which are very similar. So I'm just gonna go to Google Forms. The little shortcut as well is form.new. I can't remember if I said this last time, but if you put in doc.new, slides.new, form.new, it will create a new Google form, Google Doc, etc. just by doing that. So having done that, can you see it's created a form straight away? So I'm going to do a very, very simple and straightforward vocab test, which is going to be self-marking. So I'm going to put in les animaux. Okay. And then here is my first question. And so I'm going to put in what is your surname? And I will, oh, hang on, what's it doing? Let's do that again. What is your surname? And I'll explain why I'm doing that as the first question in a moment. You choose here, you make it short answer, you make it a required question, and then you click on the duplicate question, okay? On the next one, you put, instead of what is your surname, you put what is your first name, like that. You click duplicate, and then you write, so again, I'm going to do a very simple one. My mouse is being a bit silly again. What is the French for a cat? I know that's a theme for today, isn't it? I'm going to keep it a short answer. I then click duplicate, and then I simply change this for something else. I'm going to go for dog this time, then duplicate, and then these all actually require questions. They don't need to be required questions, so I can turn that off. But it's important that you have the required question as the name, like that. So instead of dog, I will put rabbit, and then duplicate, and then finally we'll go for horse, but this time we'll go for multiple choice instead of short answer. Okay. Here you write in the different options. So I'm going to write in like that. And I know it's in the same order. I'm just doing it by way of example. Right. Okay. There we are. Right. Okay. So we've done all that. That's all good. So then how do you mark it? The next thing that you do is you go to where it says, you go to send. No, hang on. No, you go to the cog. You go to the cog. So I'm getting a bit tired. You go to the cog and you click quizzes. This is the important bit. You then switch here and you say, make this a quiz. There's other things you can do. You can choose, immediately after each submission. I would say yes for that. The general, if you're in a G Suite school and you want to collect their email addresses, that's all fine. If you want to limit the answers to one person, to one response per person, that's fine as well. Edit after submitting is quite nice. Not obviously for a summative test, but if you want them to do a survey and then they change their mind, they can go back, say a week later, and change their answer, which is quite nice. But I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to click save. So you'll see now, for this one, for example, if I click here, we've now got the answer key option. So I click on answer key. I then put in the right answer, which I'm going to put in answer, not sha. So if you write sha with a capital C or a small c, it will be marked incorrect. I then have to give it a number of points. So that'll be 1. I then click here and I just do the same thing for the next one. So I put in the answer like that, give it a number of points. Okay, mark all others as incorrect. Again here, answer key, put in la part, make sure I put the number of points. And last of all, we click here. You then select the radio button, which is obviously that one, and you choose the number of points that you want to assign. And then you click done. So it's all done, taking no time at all. You can also copy forms, so you can just repeat the same idea. You then click send. Oh, you can also, before I show it as well, here, the floating toolbar, you've got this option here, which is import questions. You can import questions from another form you've already made into this form. Before I do that, just see if there's any other questions. Is there a way to copy and insert question and answer like in Quizlet, as it is rather time consuming? So, okay, I've just answered that question, I think. Yeah, so vocal recall or class QR doesn't work anymore, but isn't around anymore. But there is now what's called Quicker, which is here. And there's a new feature, which is Quicker Conversations, which used to be premium, but the developers now decided to make it completely free. And as of today, he's introduced moderation, and I've been one of the beta testers, and I think it's amazing. But I might show you that next time, if that's okay. So if I click send now, and I click on the link icon, and I click shorten URL, I don't have to do this last bit, but I'm going to do that, and I click copy. So you click the link icon, you copy the link, and then I post that in the chat for you. And I know it's very simple, but can you just answer that very difficult vocab test on pets, and to see what is happening, or to see what the form is looking like? That's what it should be looking like that. Okay, then I click on the edit option here, and I click responses, and hopefully in a moment, lots of lovely responses should be coming in. So I'll just give you a moment to do that, if that's okay. And then we'll finish off in a moment. Can everyone see the form all right? That's good. Lovely. At any moment as well, as you can see here, it says accepting responses. I can turn this off. So it could be, for example, once at the end of the lesson, let's say, you disable that. So it means that the students can no longer send answers in. So are you very good? Very good. Lots of responses coming in now. That's lovely. I'll just give you another 30 seconds or so to finish your quiz. So some teachers I know use this on a weekly basis with different classes. They set up their vocab test and it's all self-marking. So yeah, once you've done a set number of questions, you can just adapt them easily, I think. And it might take a little bit of time to set up the quiz, but compared to marking all the quizzes, I think it's a lot quicker, personally. Okay, so hopefully, yeah, we can see all the answers. That's great. So I'm just going to click on the little spreadsheet icon there. Click on create. That will now generate the spreadsheet. And there it is. I wouldn't show this to the students, but they can see exactly what's going on. And I would then put in intervention strategies based on what people need to do who haven't done as well as they should have done. And the reason that I asked for the surname first is because here, if I click on there, can you see the little arrow, drop down arrow there? I can go to sort sheet A to Z. And that means now everything will be in alphabetical order, which presumably therefore will match your mark book. And so that's why I put it, the surname question always first. Great, thank you ever so much. Let's finish off here. So that's Google Forms. We've got quizzes, which we'll do next time, which is amazing for listening comprehension. A little reminder as well, I know I had this last time, but if you would be interested in me doing some support for your individual department, you have my contact details, get in touch. I would love to support you over this difficult time. It would be my absolute pleasure. If we just carry on, there's the presentation, and I'm just going to sit back and to catch my breath, but feel free to access that either via the link, which I can put in the chat, which is is.gd/ISMLA capital letters 2. Okay, or scan the QR code. You've got the whole presentation there. I could have maybe gone into Padlet in a bit more detail, but if you go onto YouTube and you do a search for Padlet, you'll find everything about setting it up and all the rest of it. But I went through the most important things, e.g. how to moderate content on the Padlet, how to record audio as a language teacher. I think that's incredibly useful. I appreciate that Padlet is not completely free. It used to be completely free, and then they added a lot of new features. I think it would have been helpful if they'd said you could have had 10 Padlets for free, but nonetheless, I still think it's a fantastic tool, and I would recommend, if you have the budget for it, to go for the full version, and then you can have unlimited Padlets across the department. So I can see we've got a question. Is there a way to go into someone's Google form response and retrospectively mark an incorrect answer? Yes, you can do that. Yes, you can. In fact, let me show you right now. If I click exit, if I go back to the form, which is here, and then what do? You can definitely do this. I'm just remembering, I think you go to, is it questions? No, it must be responses. If I click on, maybe it's an individual. No. Okay, I saw a YouTube clip how to do this recently this week, so you can definitely do it. I'm just not sure. I'll have to get back to you on that. So at the start of next session, I'll have to tell you how to do that, but you can definitely do it. Let me just see. Is it here? Edit after some. No, it's not that one. Okay, I will find out how to do it. You definitely can do that. So apologies, but you definitely can do that. It's the question section. So if I click questions, okay, can you walk me through it, Tadishi? What do I do now? Is it just click here, click on answer key? Is that it? And then I can retrospectively, is that what you mean? An individual tab. Okay, I'm not sure. Click one question. Is that, so is add answer fit? No, hang on. Click one question. So I've, okay, let me just, hang on. So this is the question. And then I click in here, I presume. No, click here. Answer key, is that right? Click on. I'm not sure what you, never mind. Send me a message afterwards maybe, but I'll work it out what I've done wrong and I'll let you know next time. So again, if you have any questions that you want me to research from now until next time, put them in the chat right now or send me a message on Twitter and I can try and meet all the questions that you have. And we'll do that as a summary at the beginning, but I'm going to turn my video back on. Feel free to do so as well. So we'll go into gallery view and we'll then wrap up and say our thank yous, if that's okay. But I hope you found that useful and I hope it's given you lots of ideas on things that you practically can use in your remote teaching next week. And then next Friday will be the last one and we will have a look at lots of other interactive exercises that we can do remotely, synchronously or asynchronously. But sincerely, I hope you found that useful. And if there's anything you want to ask me, just don't hesitate in getting in touch and we can go from there. But thank you ever so much for being such a lovely audience. And I will check out the chat in a minute. So, or let's see if there's any burning questions. I can't see. I think it's okay. I was monitoring it all the way through, I think. So yeah, okay. So hopefully that's been useful. Mark, I don't know if you want to say anything to finish off with, but I wish everyone a lovely weekend. And if you do get stuck with any of this, send me a message. I can get back to you and we can then go from there. But it's been a pleasure as always. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joe. That's been so useful. And I'm definitely really happy that you've recorded it so I can play it again and pause tomorrow.
No problem.
Especially the Flipgrid. I think that's something that would be great with the speaking. I think that's what for me, I was excited to hear about that. And yeah, the Google Earth thing's amazing. That's great.
Yeah,
so
well, yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Another Friday evening. It's really brilliant. And I'm sure people will carry on sending questions and things as well. So thank you for offering so generously to answer those.
That's okay.
And thanks very much, Helen, for helping out as well this evening. Hopefully that wasn't too stressful. And thanks very much, Mark and Andy and Kevin on the committee as well for setting it all up. So thanks everybody for coming along and hopefully see some more familiar faces next week.
It's lovely. This is the best bit in a way of seeing everyone. It's just lovely. It's absolutely lovely. Okay, take care, everyone. I'm going to press stop recording now, and then I will. Sorry. So, yeah, stop recording. And yes.